Welcome to the Tailoring Talk Show with me, your host, Roberto Rivilla. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer and owner of Roberto Rivilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. This is the podcast where you drop in for the threads but often leave with something quite unexpected. I talk to self-starters and creators about their journeys, the highs and lows and the lessons they've learned along the way. If you haven't already, please support the show by subscribing, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help me out by leaving a rating and a review. This episode was recorded live at Ziggy Green in Heddon Street, in the heart of London's West End. Just imagine that you're sitting at a table with a cappuccino, eavesdropping on my conversation with an amazing entrepreneur who is an accredited interior designer with a specialism in the restaurant and hospitality industry. She has a very practical, hands-on approach to design, which is no surprise as this shines through when you meet her in person. She's passionate about sustainable business practices, and if she wasn't busy enough, she gives back wherever possible as a mentor at Kingston University, giving career talks for art and design students and much more. Where she manages to fit in a disproportionate amount of time on Instagram and at various eating establishments, I have no idea, but she's so much fun to be with. Be prepared to have a wonderful time as you join me and Natasha Gupta of Blue Feather Designs.
Oh my god, everything looks really good. Tacos.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
No, I'm not looking. Put it away. So apart from podcasting, what have you been up to?
Work has been ridiculously busy.
That's good.
Like crazy. And even to the point where just when I think I'm going to hit a quiet period, it then just goes busy again. So, and I'm not really having to push the roundabout. Does that make sense?
It's good though.
You know when you're a kid, and then all your friends pile onto a roundabout, and then from personal experience, I was the one that had to do the pushing, run around with it. And I wouldn't let you do the pushing if you were my friend when we were kids. But you have to give it a really, really good push to get it going. Massive effort. But once it's going, to keep it going, you just kind of keep tapping it every so often.
Yeah.
But I've not been able to, and so that's how my business runs. You have to keep tapping the roundabout to keep it spinning, right? Just keep in touch with your clients and keep prospecting, keep calling referrals and so on to keep your diary full. But I've done hardly any of that this year for the first time in my entire career. It just seems to be
That's amazing.
spinning on its own, which is amazing.
That's exactly what you want, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's also really scary because I don't take things for granted, right? I've got friends in business who don't worry about stuff, and then when the bad thing happens and business drops off a cliff, they go into panic mode.
Yeah.
Whereas me, I'm constantly in a state of panic mode. Not at a high level, but I'm always at a sort of conscious panic mode level, so I never let the needle go into complacency. So you always kind of worry about that.
That's good though. So
We looked at studio space yesterday. Yeah.
Where?
In Primrose Hill.
Nice. And? Anything good?
Yeah, but you know the problem with me is that I'm like a dog, right? So I just love anyone that I meet. So like we've only looked at the first place. And, I guess you're probably the same. It's like I went in with a very open mind and the people were just really nice and there was a really good energy about the place, and then a dog wandered in and I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, exactly. I can take both of those two nuts to work with me. And the first space that we saw, I could visualise it straight away in terms of design and how I would set it up. But then I realised it was a little bit too small when I thought of all the other practical stuff that I hate dealing with, like filing and things like
Office
that.
space.
Yeah, exactly. And because I have to remember, it's not just me. We're moving into the same space for the first time ever, an accounts department, which is maybe only one filing cabinet, but still an accounts department, and then a sales department, and we will need a rail for clothes and stuff, and then we need to display stuff like samples and everything, and at the same time make it a space that feels like it's got room to breathe, and people can come and walk in, and it just feel like a place of calm, but also a place where people can feel compelled to get their credit cards out. And so then we looked at a bigger one, which was a bit more expensive, but then I realised that it was actually the right sort of size.
Did it feel the same though?
It felt the same, but then overall neither space is quite what
you need.
It's not even, I don't even know in my mind what I need, but I know that when I see it I'll know.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So if that's not
So
ticked the box
unfortunately
yet,
it's not quite. So
it rarely is the very first ones that you see. So
yeah, we just
you'll
have
be
to.
fine.
Yeah, exactly. So it's only early days, so we're only just starting to look. But it's exciting. Yeah, it is exciting at the same time.
I'm excited.
Yeah. You should be, because you'll be the first person that gets invited in before I move stuff in. Say, right, Natasha, what do we think of this space? So yeah, how about you?
It's busy, but not busy, if that makes sense. So lots of projects that I'm kind of done with, but I've got to oversee the execution of it and deal with stupid builders and that sort. So I've got one place in Northwood that I'm doing, and the builders don't know how to read plans. So literally, it's like, what about this? What about this on the plans? What about this? It's on the plans. How big should I make this? It's on the plans. And it's like, I don't know how to spell it out to them, and I've kind of repeated the same thing over and over and over and over again until the point where I'm just like, ugh, can't be dealing with it. But I've literally had to kind of hold their hand through the build to the point where they're actually asking me how to build stuff. So,
and they're the builders.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've had this the entire time on our house project. The electricians have been amazing. The plumber that we've got, Luke, is absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So with them, we know they can go in and out of the house at each stage that they need to. They can have that autonomy. We trust them. We had the stairs go in, so we finally got stairs. I'm not having to use scaffolding ladders that I've nicked.
That's huge.
Yeah, massive. Really, really emotional. But see, here's the thing when you know someone's good, right? So that morning I messaged Carolina and I said, how's it going? So, because I knew they were turning up. They come all the way from Leeds.
Yeah.
And she said, I've already left the site. And I said, what? They only got there 15 minutes ago. And she said, no. She said, they turned up. They were really polite. They set all their materials out. They set up all their workbenches and everything. They've got all the right tools. She said, I just gave them the key, I trust them.
Amazing.
Which is very, very unusual for her, because she doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah.
She's an accountant. So,
but you get the vibe, right?
Yeah, but you and I talk about energy, right? All the time. And I try and talk about it with her. And
you can feel it but not explain it.
Exactly. That was an example of that.
Yeah.
So, but then the most recent set of carpenters, we've just had to fire. These are probably about the 12th carpenters that have been on that site. They're meant to be doing door linings and things like that, but they got the floor levels wrong. They're not all the same head height in the door frames. They're all different. They're not even plumb in the... And the reason why? Because then they didn't use a table saw. They didn't have the right equipment.
So what are they doing?
Then also you get builders that can't, they're like, yeah, I can do this, that, you don't need to worry about it. And then when they get on site, you put the plans in front of them. Never mind the fact that they can't orientate the plans in their minds to work out which is back to front in the house, despite the fact the smaller scale drawing shows driveway, back garden. They don't know how to use a scale ruler. Yeah,
it baffles me, the amount of people that are like that. It just really does. but you get what you pay for. These were the cheapest builders.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, which you don't really have any control over that. It depends on what your client decides.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I put the tender out, so there'll be quotes coming in, and then I will do my recommendations on what I think would be best, and then I'll get the referrals and stuff like that. These guys came with really good referrals, I have to say, but the guy that I know that referred him was like, you do have to hold their hands. I just didn't realise to what extent that was.
Yeah. Does that mean that you have to then suddenly charge more?
So it's probably a flaw in the way I work, to be honest, but I always have a set fee, and I'll be like, this is what it is, and then ethically I can't feel like I can change that just because I'm doing more work.
Yeah, I totally know.
So it's like, I explain to them that, look, I've had to rework this 100 times, I've had to revisit the site 100 times where I wouldn't normally do that, and they appreciate it, but I can't really charge them more.
Yeah, I get the same thing in my business as well. Like where I've got one customer who wanted a pea coat, and he's very, very slender. And there's only so much you can do when you're working with really thick fabrics as well, because there's only so much tolerance you have. And never mind finding needles that can go through that stuff. But he wants everything altered down, and it's basically, I'm losing money on it because it's more labour than we bargained for.
What happened? Is he getting you to alter stuff that he's already got?
No. We made a new coat, so it always needs a little bit of adjustment. But then when it was finished, it was done. It looked great, but then obviously he's looking at it and wants it, trimmer and trimmer and trimmer and trimmer, and because of the tolerances in the seams, you're talking like a 22-ounce thick wool.
Wow.
There's only so much that you can do with it. A t-shirt I can get obviously a lot more fitted because there's nothing here.
Yeah.
But I'll just check my underarms to make sure they're not sweaty or anything. But the point is right, by rights, I'm kind of like, I've undercharged for this because, I thought I set expectations at the very beginning, but then I kind of feel ethically I just have to swallow it and just take it as a learning lesson for next time and just charge more if I'm in that same situation again. But, I know that if my business coach was listening to this, he would say to me, like, you need to put your foot down, and yeah, exactly, but...
I don't know. Sometimes I think that we are our business and our values are what kind of comes through, and that's the reason people buy from us as well.
Yeah.
So the people I've hardly ever advertised. I mean, apart from doing the Instagram thing, which I'm really shit at, I don't do any advertising. Everybody's come through word of mouth or through a referral, and I feel like that speaks so much because they trust me enough to refer their friends or whoever it is. So they wouldn't do that if I was shit to them.
Yeah.
And I think, it's kind of, I wouldn't have survived otherwise.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people that do. They are really awful to their clients.
And somehow they manage to thrive and
they succeed because they've got big PR companies or they've got big marketing teams and stuff like that. So good for them.
Yeah.
Because they hold their, they hold their morals and they do things by the book. And they probably make a lot more money than I do. So maybe I should do something different.
It depends on what your motivations are, but I think at the same time as well is that, again, to go back to the energy conversation, it means when you look at your client network, because they've all come by and large through referrals and recommendations, generally your clients will be recommending people who are in some part like them. Which means not everybody, but you could probably use the 80-20 rule and say that 80% of your clients are kind of like-minded.
Yeah, they're lovely.
And on the same kind of energy spectrum, and then you always get the 20% that are dicks, but, it's the same in any business, and it was the same in mine as well. Problem for me, my Google My Business thing is our ratings keep growing because amazing. Google My Business... the algorithms for Google have changed, so they prioritise your My Business and your reviews than they do your website. And if you think about how we use Google, certainly the way I use Google, I'll Google something, and then a bunch of companies come up, and I'll look at the reviews, and then I'll go for the ones that have got the highest ratings and the highest number of reviews. and then I very rarely will look at their website because I'll look at what other people say, and then I'll just click on the call button, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happening. So that's what's happened with me, is that I don't, referrals have to call me because I don't get time to call them, and then I've got new customers coming via the website.
Yeah.
But then I'm having to well, I need to pick and choose because my time is limited, but also I'm trying to be very aware of the energy that's coming in at me.
Yeah.
It's like someone rang me yesterday and he was like, it's like, hi, you're through to Roberto Rivilla London, this is Bobby, how can I help? And I always say Bobby, not Roberto, because they don't often make the connection, and I don't want them to, because then I can say he hasn't got the time to see you or whatever.
Yeah.
And the conversation went like this: hi, you're through to Rivilla London, it's Bobby, how can I help? Yeah, can I speak to Roberto? Yeah, sure, who's calling? Well, I want to speak to Roberto, the Italian.
The Italian?
Not seen my pictures. There's no Roberto the Italian here. Can you tell me who you're after?
Yeah.
I'm after Roberto Rivilla, the Italian tailor. Okay, well, he's a tailor, because now I'm thinking, because immediately, as soon as he opened his mouth, I'm thinking, who the hell is this? Dickhead. And so I was like, he's a tailor, yes, but he's not Italian. So what specifically is it that you are calling for? Well, I want to get my suits made, but I only deal with Italian businesses, and so I want to speak to Roberto. So could you put me through to Roberto, the Italian tailor, please? And then I was like,
did you not get it the first time?
I said, I'm really sorry, is this a wind-up? But apparently it wasn't. And so I was like, look, I'm really sorry, I don't think he's going to be able to work with you. So, bye.
Bye.
Yeah. 1-star review incoming. I'm waiting for our first one. So we're rejecting people kind of on that basis, but it's more a kind of feeling, gut instinct kind of thing. So we've done this already for the viewers at home. We started recording, by the way, but you knew that, didn't you?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. It all goes downhill from here.
Okay.
So we've done this already, but for some reason, I don't know what happened. You sent me your audio. We record, that episode was amazing. That was meant to be my season 5 opener.
I'm sorry.
You were my you were my make or break.
I broke you.
I lined the audio up, and I have no idea what happened, because we definitely started recording at the same time.
Did you know I did computing at uni?
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to tell. I'm such a technophobe, it's unbelievable. I got through uni by copying coursework because I was like one of the very few girls on the course. So, it explains a lot.
Why did you do, was it computer science?
Computing and business management.
Okay. I did computer science. I dropped it after 2 weeks, and then I went and did drama and theatre arts instead.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, because it was that whole get a proper job thing, do proper subjects and get a proper job. Mm-hmm. Don't do all this arty-farty nonsense.
But I think everything happens for a reason. So I was supposed to do medicine because it was the right thing to do. And I got into all the universities with conditional offers, obviously, that I applied for. And they were good universities. Like, my parents were so super proud. And then I failed my A-levels, really badly. I was just never good at exams. Never ever good at exams.
Did you fail them properly, though?
I failed them properly.
It wasn't just, by a few percent.
No. I failed them, literally rock bottom.
Yeah.
It was awful. And then I was like, okay, it's fine. But I kind of had it, I got it together, and I was like, I'm just going to retake, do everything again, go travelling, do this, do that. There was some voluntary positions that the school was organising as well. So I wanted to go to Malawi and do a school over there and stuff like that. And my parents were like, no, you must be joking. You're going to university. You're not gallivanting for a year. I wasn't gallivanting. I had a plan. But yeah, they were just go through clearing and get whatever you can get. And that was it. So I literally just picked the first people that would take me. And that's how I ended up there. But then if I did end up in medicine, I wouldn't be where I was today. So I think it all happens for a reason.
Yeah, it's like there's no way I was going to become a doctor because I really can't. It's not that I can't stand the sight of blood. I'm kind of okay with it. It's just I can't deal with the whole going into people and cutting things open and stuff.
Going into people.
Yeah. You know what I mean, right?
I'm yeah.
Like when
this
they
is
show.
clean podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like when they always happens on every episode I record. Doesn't matter whose podcast I'm on. Yeah, but you know when they show stuff on TV, like in like a murder show or something, and there's an autopsy and they've got or there's an operation, I can't look at the thing. I have to cover my eyes and my ears. I do this because I don't even want to hear it. So I'd be no good as a doctor.
I'm not squeamish. My problem was the empathy side. I'm an empath, so hugely.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I would not be a good doctor because I would be too emotionally involved with
I'd
every
be
single
crying
patient.
I'd be crying all the time as well.
Yeah. So I actually did work experience as a doctor. My cousin's a doctor, quite highly regarded in India. So I went over there to do work experience for like 6 weeks. And he literally told me, he was like, you can't be a doctor. It was like, you can't get so emotionally involved with absolutely everybody. I was like, I can't help it. I literally can't help it. But I literally sucked all of their problems into me, and it was not good. It was not a good look. So, yeah, probably a good idea not to be a doctor.
Yeah, totally. You know. So we're in, I should say this actually, we're in Ziggy, what's it called? Oh yeah, Ziggy. Natasha just pointed at the menu. We're in Ziggy Green in Heddon Street, just off Regent Street in central London. And I thought we might end up actually moving halfway through this recording to somewhere else that's got cake, because we've been talking about cake for the last 3 weeks. But it's pretty cool. So from a hospitality interior designer point of view, what do you think of this place?
I love this place because it feels open and airy. Every time I go into a place, I'll pick fault with it because that's just what I do. But I love the artwork and stuff like that. It's got a great vibe in here.
Yeah, I always judge a place from the decor, and I know that I love it if I'm trying to work out how I can get things off the wall and out the door without anybody noticing. And sorry, there's so much.
Which one would you take?
The one with the teddy bear, the girl in the space helmet and her pajamas holding the hand of a massive pink teddy bear. Yeah, definitely that one. But there's so much cool stuff here. I'm taking a lot of inspiration from places at the moment because obviously we're refurbishing the house and the plaster borders hopefully will start in a couple of weeks, and then I can't wait for them to finish because then it's doing undercoats and stuff, and then once the undercoating's done, then it's my turn to take over.
Do you know what you're doing?
You know, everybody's been like, you know, just get builder's finish, white matte emulsion, and then worry about it later. And I don't want to do that. I want to treat the house like I would an art canvas.
Yeah.
And then get all my paints and all my different colours out, and then basically
go wild.
That's what I'm going to be doing every night after work
I'm
when
so
we get to that
excited
stage. Yeah.
So excited. It's the best bit, like, when you do have a blank canvas, because that's what it should be.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean I'm going to go painting every single room crazy colours, but
why not?
It depends on kind of how I feel about each space, right? Mm-hmm. So and then obviously you got to remember it's, you know, pictures and stuff like that and what you're going to do. But I just want to be in there and just kind of spend a little bit of time and just kind of get the vibe of each room, kind of visualise how it's going to be used and who's going to be in it and what we're going to be doing in there as well, and then it will all gradually come to me.
Have you got your mood boards going?
Yeah, I'm starting to. So I start to kind of bookmark stuff that I see and save photos into albums that I see on the internet, or if we're watching TV and then I see something in the background of a shot, then I'll put rewind. That's the only reason I kept Sky Q, basically, because you can do that. And then I'll take a photo of the television. I'm doing all of that stuff.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you approve?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So Blue Feather Designs, where did that name come from?
My daughter.
Oh, cool.
So, she's kind of my business advisor. She has been since she was about 4 years old.
How old is she now?
She's 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't look old enough to have a 15-year-old.
So yeah, she.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you. So yeah, she was obsessed with peacocks. We had a park local to us where the peacocks kind of roamed freely and stuff like that, and she had this crazy bond with them. Like normally peacocks stay away or they'll get freaked out if you're anywhere near them, but with her they'd just kind of be really relaxed, and she loved it, absolutely loved it. And she was obsessed with all things peacock, and I kind of always was as well. And blue has always been my favourite colour. So when I started the business, I asked, she was the first person I went to, what should I call it? And we went through so many things, and then she was like, just call it Peacock, Mummy, Peacock Designs. I was like, yeah, okay, but it's a bit too obvious. So we went through lots of iterations, and she was like, what about Blue Feather? I was like, yeah, perfect, let's do that. And it just all just stuck. And when I actually, this was the previous business, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And then when I went into the interior design, I was like, do I change the business name? And I actually did think about it for a good couple of months. Let's kind of rebrand and redo this, start from scratch again. But nothing felt the same, so I just kept it. So that was that.
Yeah. Wow. And I'm trying to think of, because I know all of this already, because we've done this recording.
We can talk about other stuff.
You know, we're completely transparent on this. Do you know what I'm thinking of doing? I'm thinking, because that chunk of audio that I've still got from you is gold still. So what I'm thinking of doing is chopping my end and beginning off,
splicing it,
and then splicing it, and just not splicing it into this, but I'm just thinking of just releasing that as a little bonus bit.
Bonus features.
Yeah. So we might be repeating some of what's said in that, but whatever, doesn't matter. You know, people will love you and they'll want to hear more. You know the thing that because I've seen it with my wife, who's trying to project manage our builds, right? And there's obviously a lot of sexism that goes on in the building industry. I see it firsthand almost every single day. Even before people meet her, it's like this perception of, you know, builders have of women that you don't know what you're talking about and so on. How do you experience a lot of that in the commercial world? Again, I'm asking you a question I already know the answers to. And how do you deal with it?
I experience it every single day, pretty much. I think a lot of it is down to how I look as well. So we're going back to the brand name. A lot of interior designers use their own name. So it would be Natasha Designs or Natasha Gupta Designs or whatever. And when I first started out, there was nobody that I knew of that was brown in my industry, in the commercial design industry. Even in residential, to be honest, there wasn't too many visible brown women. So I thought that would put people off coming to me. So I said, I'm not going to use my name. So that was one aspect. And then I actually look a lot younger than I am. I know that, and that's not me being big-headed. It's just genetics, and this is why I do look a lot younger. I still get ID'd when I buy alcohol. One
of my clients was in the other day, and I let it slip how old I am, and he just stood there absolutely flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Like he didn't. The very fact that I've used that word right, probably gives people a clue. And I say things like whoopsie daisies. Like Hugh Grant
I say that all the time.
Hearing Juliet Roberts says, I always think of that when I say it as well, when Juliet Roberts says to him when he's trying to climb over into that private garden in Notting Hill.
Yeah.
She's like, did you just say whoopsie daisies? And she just finds it absolutely hilarious. So anyway, sorry I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. For that reason, I think a lot of people don't take me seriously. So you're brown, you're a woman, you look about 12. So that's been really difficult for me. And in the beginning, I used to, and I still do it sometimes. I kind of just stayed quiet or retreated a little bit. Oh, they might be right. Maybe I'm not right. Maybe they are. You know, they're saying the right thing. But with experience, you learn, well, actually, they're talking crap, and I do know what I'm talking about, and I've seen this before, and I'm not going to let them make the same mistake. And then you kind of put your foot down and be like, no, actually, this is what it should be. And now, I guess it's still a bit 50-50. Some people listen and be like, well, yeah, she does know what she's talking about. Or they'll make the mistake, realise I was right all along, and then kind of rectify it. or they'll completely go the other way and just do what they want to do.
They'll just double, triple down, right? And then it ends up in complete disaster.
Yeah, and then some of them, I guess, are too egotistical to admit that they were wrong. But it happens every day, and you've just got to get on with it, really. And when, like I said, a lot of the people realise that she knows what she's talking about, so you've got to listen. Or I'll give them examples now. I'll be like, look, somebody didn't listen to me and they did exactly the same thing, and look what happened. And I'll give them an example, and that tends to get people in the right frame of mind. But yeah, I mean, literally, we've just got to keep going. I mean, it used to get me down a lot, but now I'm just like, it's one of those things, and I try and stamp it out as much as I can, because I feel like, being the age that I actually am, I can pave the way for other people. And I've had I mentor a lot of kids in university now, and I tell them the same thing. If they're a woman of colour, you've got to stand your ground, and you have to have the tenacity to be able to do it as well. So you can't retreat like I did. You've got to keep going, and especially if you know that you're right and you know what you're doing. You've just got to keep going.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that play into it. It's obviously being a woman of colour. It can also be, you can be a white woman like my wife, but then have an accent because she's Spanish. Size, I think, plays a factor as well.
It does.
I don't really see someone like Laura Jane Clark, the architect, having to put up with too much crap from people. I had an exchange with her on Instagram recently. I was like fanboying over her. It was crazy.
I love her.
I absolutely love her. We took her without knowing it, because once we started watching Your Homemade Perfect, and she's always our favourite one. But where she's always very much about creating flow, and if there's a staircase in the way of that, then you get rid of, move it out the way and stuff. And without realising, I think the way that our house is designed is probably largely the way that she would have done it, which is pretty cool.
Influenced.
Yeah, but that was even before I knew she existed, so I was quite happy about that.
Well, it's funny that we talk about that show, because it's so, I found that show really interesting, and a lot of these interior design programs make me cringe, like really badly. But this one I love because the two architects that they chose were so starkly different. It made it really interesting, and how people perceived the different designs. So it's Robert, wasn't it? The guy.
The dippy hippie Irish guy that loves wood.
He loves wood.
Like, if you're a tree, watch the F out, because you're done. Like, he does everything out of timber. But
I love him, and I love his style, and I love the way he thinks. Like, he thinks kind of towards the future, and the way that you live, and the way that you live, how it makes you feel, and the impact on your life. And I absolutely love his way of thinking. And usually I would opt for his design pretty much 90% of the time. But I knew that Laura would win because her designs were more practical and more realistic in the way that people live their daily life. A lot of people don't look and live in the future. They live like, right now I've got so much kids crap to put away. Where shall I put it? And the storage issues. Whereas he didn't think that way. He kind of thought, right, you're going to be old in this house. How are you going to want to navigate that? But there's none of them wrong. That's the thing. So that's what made it so interesting.
Yeah, well, because we're all different, right? I mean, I know some of my clients, I go into their places and I think, oh my God, like this apartment, penthouse, whatever, is absolutely stunning. But then I'm kind of looking around thinking, I can live in this, because, like, where the hell am I going to put all the dog's toys and, all of that kind of stuff? And I need to be able to just get things out of the way quickly and whatever. And it's fine for them. They don't even need to think about it, because they can have somewhere that looks fancy and nice and doesn't look, or maybe isn't even very practical, because they're paying full-time staff to be there all the time, to just be taken care of. I mean, imagine if you just had little helpers around.
I'd love minions.
Yeah.
I really want some minions.
Actual minions, like the yellow ones with the dungarees. That
that go around shouting and stuff.
Make farting noises all the time and mispronounce everything. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I want them.
Yeah.
And they can tidy up and stuff.
But yeah, I mean, that is the point, is everybody is different. But yeah, it's like we kind of inadvertently got the staircase out of the way and kind of shoved it, sort of to where there's an arch window that becomes a feature of the staircase as you go up.
I can't wait to see this.
And then you open the front door and you've literally got a clear view because we opened up the hallway, and then you've got a clear view all the way through the back of the house to where the sliding doors are,
That is
all the
very
way out
Laura
through
Jane.
to the garden, and it continues to the. This now I sound like a complete tit, but then we've got kind of playing fields behind, so it's very open space,
Yeah.
and so it was that flow continuing is what we kind of wanted.
Yeah.
And obviously the architect had some input into that as well, but we already, when we bought the place, we made a very exhaustive list, and it was everything from, you know, that it was really important to have a lot of light flowing through the place, about flow through, and how we were going to use each space, and what was the other thing? Even down to details of like where the electric sockets should be, and so like we really thought about each room and how we were moving around in them. So when the architect came in, we just gave them all those notes, and they basically just translated all of that. And it'll be amazing once it's done. It's just been a freaking nightmare getting there. But you see, that's the thing. It's like, so you mentioned instinctively in their gut, you're in a situation, right? And it might be how you're going to run pipes through something or whatever. They must know instinctively that you're right, but they're fighting their instincts, which is basically to, I'm just going to say it, tread on women, whatever, brush you out of the way, and that they know better because they're blokes and they've been in the trade for, you know, well, I've been doing this for 30 years and blah. You know, and I've lost count of the number of times I've been on site and they've been arguing with Carolina about something. I remember distinctively Luke, our plumber, who, this was at the start, he is now, because now he knows his place. But at the start, they were talking about something about the way to run pipes through the family bathroom and all this stuff. And they were arguing, and I just said, and he turned around to me and said, "Your wife's not getting it." And I said to him, "Listen, dude, she's right. I don't know the technicalities of any of this stuff, but I know that she's right, because she's always right." So you've got two choices. Either you spend another 10 minutes arguing with her and then you're going to have to back down, or you just hear her out and just clear your mind, stop with all that nonsense that's going, and actually actively listen to her.
Yeah.
So he decided on option one, which was to keep arguing for another 10 minutes, and then at the end he got it, and then he turned around to me and he said, "She's right, you know." I was like, "I just told you that like 10 minutes ago." But it
At
happened
least they
time.
admitted it. A lot of them don't admit it.
That's the thing.
So I had this two instances. One, just going back to what you were saying about how they kind of disregard women in the first place. I had, like I said, I mentor a lot of kids through university, so I had one of them come to site with me one day. It was quite a big project, and he's a big guy, so he's much taller than me. He's about 6 foot something, but obviously he's completely new to this. This is the first site he'd ever been to. The builders on site hadn't met me before, so they were new, or they were kind of contractors or whatever. Immediately they came to him, "Oh, you must be the designer. Can you tell me what to do with this, this and this?" And then he was like, "Sorry, it's her, this is my boss, speak to her." And they kind of looked at me like, "I don't want to speak to her." And then they carried on speaking to him. And then he had to keep saying, "Look, I don't know what you're talking about, you have to speak to her." Yeah. But they wouldn't. They literally spoke over my head to speak to him. And they just wouldn't come back down from what they were doing. And no, you can't fix that. If you've got a mindset, they've got a mindset. And then there was another one where obviously I work on commercial projects.
Yeah.
So I went in, I saw the staircase that was there, which you reminded me when you were talking about staircase. And I knew that the dimensions were wrong. So the regulation between certain things, I won't go into the details, certain things for commercial doesn't work for residential and vice versa.
Yeah.
And the regulations building control wise are different. So I knew that staircase was out of compliance. I said that to them and they were like, no. And then I said it again. I was like, "Look, these are residential stairs. You can't use them here." And then he looked at me after saying no, he was doing the right thing and all of that. He looked at me, kind of did a double take, and then he was like, "Oh, these are just temporary. We're going to change them anyway."
Rather than just saying, "You're absolutely 100% correct.
Yeah. So
we need to sort this out."
And then, but it just dug a hole that was like he couldn't get out of, because then obviously he bought this staircase with the client's money. So I was like, "So you bought a temporary staircase that is incorrect. But this is not, it wasn't sort of a, you know, a crappy scaffold staircase. It was a proper one. So I was like, why would you do that? Why would you spend your client's money on a temporary staircase? Fair enough, you need a temporary staircase, but why would you spend so much money on it? It doesn't make any sense. And then he didn't have anything to back out of. Oh, no, we needed something sturdy. We've got a lot of up and down. He would just keep going. And I was like, you know you're wrong. Just say that you're wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
Admit the mistake. But they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Yeah. We, I mean, I can think of so many examples, but, you know, I don't know. I mean, you're right, you can't fix that, right? Because it is an inherent mentality that is never, ever going to change. I mean, we could be here in 200 years' time saying the same thing, right?
I hope not. I hope things do change. I feel like they are, slowly. But yeah, I mean, when I say they can't change, I do want them to, and I do try. And I feel like everybody needs to, just kind of, at least, you know, even if you make 1% of a difference, you know, gradually we're going to get there. But yeah.
I feel like it's a mountain to climb, because so, you know, I've been doing jobs on the site, so when we've been let down, I'll look at something and then I'll go onto YouTube. The Carpenter's Daughter, by the way, if you don't follow that channel, she's amazing. Vicky Lee, she's from Manchester or somewhere up north. And her channel's The Carpenter's Daughter, so her dad's a carpenter, and she's obviously grown up since she was a baby, like playing with his power tools, but she's amazing. She does everything herself, absolutely everything. Her channel is just a goldmine. So I basically just jump on there and I'll watch a few YouTube videos and then I'll just get on with it myself, because I've acquired over the last 4 years of this project I've got 3 different sizes of breaker, I've got grinders, I've got impact drivers and drills, and I've got a chop saw and I've got a skill saw. So when I'm on site, you know, if I'm, you know, like, so my most recent job was gluing and screwing the ply on top to seal the chipboard and the underfloor heating on the first floor, which is a totally monotonous job, but anyway. But I'm there as a labourer, I'm not there as, I don't know anything about the actual construction of it in terms of the plans, where things are going. I dump that out of my head and leave that with Carolina, because she is the project manager. But they do this, they'll turn up, some trade will turn up on site to quote for something, and then they'll want to know where this is going, what that's doing, never mind the fact the drawings are there, so why don't you just read them? But they'll ignore her completely, even though she's talking them. As soon as they come across me, and I'm just standing there with a tub of glue in one hand and my impact driver in the other, and then they'll suddenly just cross over and start talking to me, and I'm kind of like, don't talk to me, I'm working right now, like, trying to finish this. And I say to them, she's the project manager. I won't even tell them that she's my wife. I'll just say, she's the project manager over there. She knows everything about it. I'm just here to do this today. I'm just laying this wall or whatever. But they won't move. They'll just stand there and they'll just continue asking their stupid questions. They don't want to talk to her at all.
Yeah.
And it just drives me absolutely insane. And it's not that they didn't hear me. It is that they are inherently they are dicks, basically.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how you change that. But then I guess with the mentoring that you're doing, that is how you change it. Because what we need to do is get a bit lower down in the earth, get down to the seedlings, which are the children.
Yeah.
And, next thing we need quoting on is the landscaping, so now I'm thinking about plants. And maybe, hopefully, in a generation it'll be a lot better than it is now.
I already think it's changing, because obviously I've got 2 kids, a girl and a boy, and I know from my son's point of view, he understands that you don't do these things, and I feel like I'm raising him well, because he said something the other day, and I can't remember what it is now, but it just made me feel so proud. I was like, yes, you get it, and you know that that's how you speak to women and that's how you treat them. Yeah. It's not that you have to treat each other differently, it's just to have a level playing field, and he just got it, and I just felt like, this is how the change is going to happen.
Yeah. And you know, I'm not trying to put the whole of the male side of our species down, because God knows some girls are dicks as well. I was walking the dogs yesterday and this little schoolgirl's kind of walking past, and she takes a bottle out of her bag in the middle of the road and just threw it.
Oh God.
Like, just threw it.
Yeah.
And then she looked at me and she knew what she'd done, right? And I just turned around to her and I said, you just threw that bottle? And then she shook her head no. And I said, I just saw you throw that bottle. Can you pick it up and put it in that bin over there, please? you're not my dad. I was like, I don't need to be your dad, but I've got 2 dogs, so think about it. Go pick that bottle up and chuck it in the bin. What a little dick, seriously. Anyway, there we go. There was something we spoke about last time that I've been talking about with lots of people since, and when you get together with people that we know mutually, don't be surprised if they all start coming up to you asking what colour you see them as. So,
I never told anybody about that till very, very recently because I thought I was actually mad. And then I read some books that actually it's a thing that you can see and certain people can see it.
Yeah.
But I actually thought I was mad.
No.
So I would never say it.
Not at all. I mean, I want to kind of try and get inside your... So what it is, everyone listening to this thinking, what the hell is he talking about? So what I'm talking about is that Natasha said the first time you met me, I was wearing a burgundy jacket, but you saw me as the colour green.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering do you replace the image of me with just a big blob of colour?
No.
Or is colour as a feeling, or am I a character from Inside Out? You know that movie?
Yeah. It's a bit like that.
Okay.
My life is basically a cartoon, to be honest. But it's more like a shadow.
Okay.
Is probably the best way to explain it. So I can see a shadow around you. I can feel it as well.
Like an aura.
It is an aura. I think that is actually the proper name for it. But yeah, so I think it also depends. So when people say like attracts like, and there's certain energies of people and you vibe with your tribe, all of these kind of things, it's all kind of saying the same thing. It's that you're attracted to certain people, and there's a reason for that attraction is because you feel that energy and it vibes with yours, and everybody's got a different frequency, everybody's got a different energy. Even as a person, your energy is going to change throughout your life, throughout your time, throughout your mood as well. So today you're going to be one thing, tomorrow you're going to be something else.
Yeah.
And at that particular moment in time, if your energies match with somebody, that's when you kind of feel like, yeah, I can be friends with this person, or I can, see my future with this person, or that vibe you must have got with Carolina when you first saw her. It's that thing. It's not just the physical attraction. There's something more than that. So I feel that, and right now I'm going through a very what I call an earthy kind of phase in my life, where I just want to be at one with kind of nature, and I just want to be present. Like right now I just want to be present. I don't want to think about the future. I don't want to think about what I've been through in life, and I just really want to feel grounded. And I feel that way and I suffer from anxiety and depression and stuff like that. So when I feel like I'm going to go off the rockers a bit, that's when I know that I need to kind of really dig my feet into the ground and feel grounded. So it's been going on for about, I guess, the whole of this year, to be honest. So my vibe right now is all about greens and blues. And I've noticed that every time I feel emotionally connected with somebody, or I feel like I want to speak to them a little bit more, it's generally because they're the same colour. So when I first saw you, it's not just because you were super stylish and you looked amazing. It was more that I felt that energy, and I was like, yeah, I can speak to him. And normally I'm really nervous, and a lot of people that hear that from me, like, no, you're never nervous. Like, you're always so confident. But actually, that couldn't be further from the truth.
Because you come across when people meet you for the first time, same for me as well, is that, I think words they would use to describe you would be fun and witty. You're very witty. And you're very, very quick off the mark as well. You probably don't even think that you are.
No, I don't.
But I was like, when I really got to speak to you the first time, I was like, holy shit, she's like sharp as a tack, this one.
I don't feel it. So I'm very nervous with new situations or with new people. I've always got a guard up, and it's, I won't go into the boring stuff, but I had a lot of social anxiety for the past, I guess, 10, 15 years. To the point where I couldn't actually go to Tesco. Like, I just was too scared to go down and walk down the road. But now it's still there, but I've overcome to the extent that I can actually have a conversation with people and do that. But there's certain colours that I'll see them and I'm like, I can't deal with it right now. I can't. It's not that there wouldn't be a nice person or I wouldn't be able to talk to them. It's just, again, that energy and that vibe at that particular time isn't right, so I just can't do it. And then I'll find that, at a different phase, or I meet them at a different event or something else, and then I'll be like, oh, okay, I can talk to you. And for some reason there's a shift, but I don't know what it is. I'm not an expert in energy or anything like that. I just know what I feel, and I know that, different times I'll be able to speak to different people and other times I won't.
Yeah.
But that's just how it is. But yeah, so going back to your question, you are green, and I feel you're still green. And I think it's because you are very similar to me as well. In kind of the last conversation we had, I felt like we've got a lot of similarities in the way we think and kind of deal with life in general.
Yeah, I think I've probably come into what you see as my aura literally recently. I wouldn't say my whole life's been like that, because growing up was quite difficult. I think I probably told you this when we did round one, that there was a bit of abuse, there was a lot of abuse going on when I was growing up. And so you mentioned Carolina when we first met, and she first saw me. Funny enough, it's the first time she's used colour to describe how she felt about someone the first time she met them, and she said she felt there was like black, like a darkness around me when she first met me.
Yeah, do you think?
I think so, probably. I mean, I didn't feel it at the time because I was totally drunk on Jack Daniels because I was trying to get up the courage to speak to her, but I'd just come out of a really kind of shitty breakup. It was just, one night I basically just found out that I was being 2 times. And it just broke me to the point where I was like, I'm just done with relationships and women and all the rest of it, and I'm going to be an absolute arsehole from now on. Turns out I'm not capable of doing that.
But that is a very dark space, right? So that's really what you were reflecting.
Yeah,
so it makes sense.
And then I met her literally about 2 months later. So obviously I still had all of this, but then I had probably what is my natural kind of way of being inside that was then fighting all of this darkness, because I was literally like saying to my friends, I'm done being the nice guy, I'm fed up with it, I was always the one that got put in the friend zone at college, and I was always the reliable one and there for people when they're, and I just keep getting my heart broken, and I'm done with it now, I'm now gonna. But then I just still wasn't even capable of doing that, because I can't do that to people. It's not me. Yeah, exactly. So that's probably what she was seeing. And eventually, we ended up getting engaged and married. But there we go. But that evolution has had to come in the last couple of years. And it's also, I think I'm getting much better, much quicker. Certainly since joining Founders Club, because suddenly I'm now kind of surrounded by this network of amazing people. I wouldn't have met you if it wasn't for that. And also now that I'm kind of going back to sort of looking at, not just my business goals, but goals in personal life as well.
Yeah.
The type of writing down statements like the type of friend that I want to be, and the type of brother that I want to be for my younger sister, and the type of son I want to be. I'm still working on that. It's a struggle because of everything that's happened in the past with my parents and so on. But, I'm trying to work on it. And then the type of husband that I want to be, and so on and so forth. So, I think it is making me a better... doing this podcasting is also making me a better person, because I get to meet so many amazing people around the world. I'm sat here in London with you, which was the one that I'm most looking forward to. Sorry to everyone I'm recording with later on today if you hear this, but it's a fact. But I'm recording with someone in Germany later, and then someone in India after that, and then someone in the United States in the middle. How many people get to say that they get to do that, right? And then I've got my day job as well, which is great. So, but I just found it absolutely fascinating. The other thing as well was something you said in an Instagram post about a month or 2 ago, where you were talking about colours of nature. So if it works in nature, it works in real life.
Yeah.
Or something. And I think that was part of this process of you kind of becoming grounded and connecting with everything around you and your surroundings and so on. I mentioned it on that episode you were listening to just now with the crazy...
I didn't get that far. But yeah, I think that was COVID. Obviously, it hit the business really hard, and I had, so before lockdown happened, I had 15-ish projects lined up. All of them had said yes. And it was going to be the best year yet, to the point where I was like, I need to hire people. I won't be able to cope with this amount of work by myself. But then March, Boris announced the lockdown, and literally every single one of them pulled out, and I'd got to concept stages for quite a lot of them, so I'd already done some work. But all of them kind of came back and said, look, we don't know whether we're going to actually be a business anymore. We don't know whether we're going to survive this.
Yeah.
So we can't put that investment forward. So I gave all of them their money back. I couldn't. And a lot of people afterwards, when I told them, I was like, why would you do that? You'd already started the work. I was like, because I can't hold that from people. If they don't even know if they're going to have a business at the end of the day. And I don't want to hold people's money just for the sake of it, because I didn't feel like I'd done enough. And so at that point I was like, right, now what? And a lot of people in the industry, friends, residential designers, and all of them had their best years still, even after COVID. They were like, this is like, it's never been busier, because everybody was at home, they wanted to do those improvements. They were like, come and do residential work. And I could have, but it just, for me, I'm really quite stubborn in that sense, that if I love something, then I'll do it. If I don't absolutely love it with like my whole heart, I won't. And I should have, probably, for finance sake. But I just didn't, it didn't light me up, and I didn't feel like I can be my best self for them. Like, I feel like I need to be my best self for my clients.
Yeah.
So I can give them all of that as well. It's not like I didn't know what I was doing. I can still apply it to residential work, and I will still take on residential work if it lights me on fire. I've taken a couple. But if they don't, and if they're after, and sorry for those ones that are quiet, but the ones that are after a white box, I just can't do it. It wouldn't be fair on them, it's not fair on me, so I just didn't. So I had that point where I was like, well, what do I do now? The kids are at an age now where very soon they're going to be flying off, and they're going to be doing their own thing, or they're not going to be wanting to deal with me at all. They're going to be like embarrassed of mum or whatever. So I was like, right, maybe this is the universe is telling me, is like, slow down, because your business will pick up, it will get there, but right now your family needs you, your kids need you. Just spend time with them, because you're not going to get that time back. And so we did. We spent so much time together. We went on all these walks out in nature, and for the first time I felt like I was truly happy, and it was really weird. Like, the business was not where I wanted it to be. Life itself was not where I imagined it to be. I couldn't see friends, I couldn't see family, and that really got me down. But actually I was really happy. And it was because I was connected with nature, and like I said, it was that connection that I needed, that feeling of being grounded. Yeah. Feeling of being with the three people that I love the most, and just being present and being in the moment. And I went, and I'm not a tree hugger or anything like that, but I did go and hug trees because it just felt so good. And the beauty of it all, like, you just have to double take sometimes and really digest everything around you, and just look at how a tree is actually formed. I know it sounds really stupid, but just seeing it, and just, it blows your mind, and how big these things get, and how tall they are, and how much shade they can give, and everything that comes with it. And I learned so much as well. I was watching all these programs, and it really got me thinking about kind of what I'm doing, why I do these things, and you kind of have to take a step back from everything, which is why I did that post on, sometimes I find it really difficult to articulate things, especially to clients. Like, I can't just say, it works, so just trust me, it works. I know that it's going to work. You have to kind of explain yourself, you know this as well. And they were like, well, how's this colour and this colour going to go together? I can't visualise it. Even if I put samples in front of them, I was like, look how good it looks. They still don't get it. And that's when I realised, actually, nature has got so much colour, and if it works there, then obviously it works in real life. It kind of felt like a really obvious connection. But like, just articulating that to myself felt like an epiphany almost. Like, well, obviously. Yeah. It's so basic, but it's so true.
It is, but I think you underestimate how profound that is, or at the very least, how profound an effect it had on me. I mean, I actually used it the other day. I mean, now I use it all the time, but I used it specifically the other day with a client of mine. He's one of our best clients, but he's also very, difficult's not the word, particular, probably. But, he was looking at, I was showing him sort of smart casual kind of trouser jacket swatches and stuff, and, I was saying, God, that'll look amazing on you combined with that, and so on. And, I'm very instinctive with that sort of thing. but it's very, very difficult to articulate and get across to him and convince him of certain things. And he was like, no, I can't see it, blah, blah, blah. And I just said to him, listen, his name, insert here. And I just pointed outside his window. And I said to him, a really good friend of mine says, and this is what I live by now, if it works out there in nature, it works with what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
And he stopped and he didn't say anything for 10 seconds. And then he was like, that's right. And all of a sudden, all the
click.
resistance, click.
Yeah.
It's like, wow. So
it's funny, I've had a bit of a love-hate relationship with clothes, fashion generally. Growing up, you know how, my parents didn't come from money. We haven't come from money, so a lot of the clothes were just like either hand-me-downs or from, affordable, very affordable shops.
Yeah, I had to wear 70 squares to school.
Yeah.
And I got beaten up badly.
Don't you wish you kept them now?
I do. Yeah.
But then, I've always been a little bit quirky, but it's that side of me that almost people don't want to see. And especially when we grew up, it was like, you have to conform. You have to be like everybody else. You can't stand out. You can't be original. It's wrong, and you're going to get bullied for it. And I did, so many times. But I'd want to wear certain things. I loved neon back then, and it was never in fashion. But I'd wear like neon dresses and stuff like that, and I'd always get stared at or I'd get picked on. And then I stopped because, there's a certain bit of your childhood where you can be wild and experiment and you really don't give a shit what anybody says. And then it comes to like, the adolescence, kind of 12 onwards, where it's like, no, I can't possibly stand out. I really want to blend in as much as possible and like, please ground swallow me up or whatever. So I gave it up. I gave up colour. I was living in black because that's what all the girls were doing at that time. You can imagine it, right?
Yeah.
But I still wanted me, and I would still cling on to that. So I was always a bit of a tomboy. So my black would consist of hoodies and tracksuit bottoms and a cap. And then certain times I'd be allowed a bit of colour. So the kappa trousers.
Yeah.
They had the white, and there'd be a little bit of red that creeps in and stuff like that. But I would love it. I would love dressing like that, and even if people would be like, well, you don't look like a girl, why are you dressing like that, or why do you want to be a boy, and I'd still get bullied for it. Doesn't matter what you do, you'd get bullied for something. And I was like really tiny, skinny and all of that, and I still kept it. Like at university I was still being a tomboy, and I was told by the girls, like, you can't wear that, come on, you've got a great figure, go and flaunt it, and be a girl, be a teenager. And I kind of did it. I kind of did what they asked me to do and just kind of followed. And it's only recently where I've kind of found myself again, where I'm like, actually, I really love colour and I really love crazy prints, and I really don't care what anybody thinks anymore. But the amazing thing is, it's actually been fashionable now to wear vintage and wear things that are a little bit quirky.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm being true to myself and also being fashionable. So it's been a love-hate thing. But I feel comfortable again, and it's taken so long to get there. But that's when I met you, and I was like, what I've always wanted is some crazy print suit. And I was like, please make it for me. So you're going to, right? Because it's now on your podcast.
What's the type of print that I'm looking out for when I'm at fabric merchants and so on?
I don't know, something naughty and cheeky and colourful. All the colours.
All the colours.
All the colours, as mad as it can be. And I know I'd love it because you've made it.
Yeah, I'm starting to. We're going to have to do this again, also because it's getting busy in here. But also, I'm also conscious because we have been talking about cake for weeks and weeks and weeks. Like almost actually every conversation you and I get into leads to food.
I have this problem.
Yeah. So we're going to just go and find something, not too much, because obviously we've got to be respectful of your regime at the moment, we'll just say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really funny actually, talking about conforming. I think I was wearing hand-me-downs all the time, also because I've been this size since I was like about 12. So my mum and dad just couldn't afford to keep buying me new stuff, right? So in the end, my mum would get out my dad's flares from the 70s, and I'm the late 80s growing up kid when it was all drain pipes and stuff, and so I would get kids kicking the hell out of me at school. And that's kind of how I got into sort of altering clothes and stuff, because I just had to try and do something to them to make them look a bit more acceptable.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got to college and I got a part-time job, and all of a sudden you're hanging out with all these cool kids and stuff. I mean, I was actually one of those, I was about to say floaters, which has different connotations. But I was one, you know, our college, it was split up into different zones. So like the social area was where all the cool kids hang out, and they all wore all the designer tops, like Alessi and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they were wearing, you know, those really clean, fresh sweatshirts with fitted jeans and white trainers that were really expensive. And then the canteen was basically all the Asians. And then you had the back of college, the back of the gym was where the bike sheds were, is where all the goths hung out, drinking vodka and smoking cigarettes and everything. Probably smoking more than cigarettes. And then the corridors was basically everybody else, all the outcasts and oddballs and whatever. But I used to hang out everywhere. I used to spend time with everybody.
Yeah,
but then,
that was me as well.
Yeah. But as soon as I got my own money, I then tried to sort of buy stuff. But now I look back on it, I must have kind of looked a bit weird and eclectic, because I'd have a bit from everyone. That, do you know what I mean? I was like a Frankenstein's monster of all those different kind of groups of people.
Now that you look back on it, do you find that really beautiful? Because it sounds amazing.
I don't, because what was happening is I was having identity issues, and I couldn't work out who the hell I was, and I was trying to be everybody else rather than, you know, I wish I could go back to my 16, 17-year-old self and help him to own it. Yeah, exactly. And just
do you feel like that's kind of influenced you now?
Yeah. You know, I look at pictures of me when I'm about 4 or 5 years old. On my birthday, my mum will send me embarrassing photos from my childhood. But up until about the age of 6 or 7, before I got the NHS glasses, I was a damn good-looking little kid. But then there's loads of pictures of me in a shirt and a tie and a sleeveless sweater thing.
Can you pause?
Yeah.
I've got to take this. Sorry. I keep messing things up. This is my brain. And you know, have you seen that meme where you've got like 10,000 tabs open? That's literally my brain. I swear people have literally kind of copied.
I really have to use lists now and write things down so that I can stay focused, because otherwise I will just literally go on tangents in my life all the time.
We do this all the time when we talk as well. It's like, what are we talking about again?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this on again now?
But yeah, it is on again. I've just worked out, because what I'm going to do is bring this conversation to a close today.
Okay.
But it's been fantastic. Do you know what I was going to say to you? You know, the thing about you is that you are very true to yourself, very principled as a result. I think you're principled anyway, and now that's translating into how you're living your life and how you're making decisions, not just in business but in your personal life and so on as well. And that is so inspiring to me. Because I don't.
So you don't
I'm
think
still
it's
not there
just
yet.
being scatty and stubborn at the same time?
No, I don't think so. I think you've got that on the surface, but I think if we think of a tree, that's what we see in the branches of Natasha, right? But I really think you've got your roots nicely spread out.
I love that analogy, and I'm hugely crushing on trees right now, so how weird does that sound? Yeah. But thank you, that's really nice.
I mean, you probably know this, but you know trees can talk to each other and stuff, and they're like an interdependent system. It's like when you drive down certain roads and you see that a natural arch has been created because the trees are sort of curled over and have almost reached over to cross each other's arms.
We'll talk about that another time, because the new thing that I've been geeking out on is mycelium. You've probably heard of it. But it's an underground fungi system, and it's probably the most newest sustainable material out there, so I think there's going to be a lot of talk of mycelium coming up in terms of fabrics, in terms of upholstery. They're even creating like harder kind of plastic alternatives out of mycelium as well.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited about that. But when I was researching, it was exactly that. So mycelium is an interconnected network underground, and it's a fungus but it behaves like a plant. So they kind of spread out like their roots and stuff like that, and they all talk to each other, and the only way that it survives is through this interconnectivity, which again, going back to nature and stuff, and we can probably do another podcast on just nature, but I think that's how I want to be as a human, kind of connecting with different people that kind of makes sense to me, and that also we can help each other thrive. So what I've realised now, like this is a whole growth period of my life probably, is that I've got rid of not people that I didn't like, but people that I knew were bringing me down.
Yeah.
Not because they wanted to bring me down or because they were being bitchy or anything like that. Because I've come out of depression and I'm actually thriving in just my personal self, when you see somebody going through the same thing, there's two things that happen. One is that you really want to help them and you want them to get out of it, but also they will bring you down with them, especially if you've got that empath kind of nature.
Yeah.
They bring you down, and so now I'm keeping my distance but trying to help at the same time, if that makes sense. So I don't want to abandon people, because I know a lot of people have helped me through that and I want to help them as well, but you've got to really put up that barrier and be like, you've got to protect yourself.
You've got to try and stay on the periphery of the black hole and not get sucked into
100%. So yeah, we're going to be mycelium.
Awesome. Thank you. I was just thinking of possibly two places, right, we could chip to.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know why they need to know about this, but who cares? I can edit it out or not. Probably won't. Either we go around the back to Savile Row, and we check out that coffee place, but next to it is Holland and Sherry, which they don't just do clothing fabrics, they do interior stuff as well.
Oh, let's go check it out.
And they've just moved from just being in an office to having, for the first time, an actual showroom.
Yeah, we might get some inspiration.
Yeah, or there's this secret door that KP uses in Piccadilly where you go in and it's like a fancy bookshop, but if you thought this was cool, that place is even...
I love places like that.
They've got like a little coffee bar, and then I think they do little macarons and stuff like that.
Nice. Well, I'm feeling hungry, so let's go.
Okay, so let's do that then. Right, brilliant. Natasha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'm just saying thank you for the benefit of this.
Yeah.
We're carrying on.
Yep.
But I'll put links in the show notes and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And you're amazing. Don't forget it.
So are you.
We will be back at some point. So anyway, we're off to go and do important things now, like find sweet stuff. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me and Natasha on this episode. No promises, but you might get a part 2 if I can salvage and cut together an episode from our original failed recording. Don't forget that Tailoring Talk is now on Instagram at Tailoring Talk Podcast, and you know I love feedback, so you can also email the show directly at tailoringtalkpodcast@gmail.com. As I said at the top of the show, please remember to subscribe, rate and review. You can also click the share button in your player to send the show on to people you know. If you're enjoying Tailoring Talk and feel compelled to throw some change our way and support the show, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Roberto Rivilla. Have a great week or couple days, and I'll see you on the next one.